Guys, today we're going to talk about how Dr. K stays healthy. So I have a lot of responsibilities in life. I'm sure y'all do too. I work as a psychiatrist and medical doctor. I do this whole healthy gamer thing, which sometimes means that people will comment things on the internet that aren't the nicest about me. Sometimes people like the New York Times will write articles about me. I also take care of 5 people over the age of 70 in terms of certain medical things, winterizing their house, stuff like that. I've got 2 kids at home, so there's like parenting involved, and my wife is just a touch high maintenance. So how do I stay mentally healthy, mentally focused, excited about the work that I do? I'm lucky in a lot of ways, so let's kind of dive in. So how do I stay mentally healthy? First thing is I engage in a shocking number of bad habits. So the first bad habit that I engage in purposely, which I think really helps me a lot, is I sleep with my cell phone right next to my bed. Now, this is advice that I have given, that you should not sleep with your cell phone right next to your bed. It's a bad idea. Have your phone out of reach. There are studies that show that even having your phone face down in the same room with you drains your willpower a little bit. So why do I do this? Really simple. So one is because I'm a medical doctor and because I take care of 5 people over the age of 70. Sometimes I get phone calls in the middle of the night, so I need the phone there. But I discovered something that's a little bit more important. See, a lot of us try to create an environment and a habit sort of structure so that things are easy for us. So a lot of us go for, I want an easy life and high outcomes, right? So I want everything to be efficient. I want everything to be easy so I can knock it out of the park. What I sort of discovered is that there's a whole-scale deconditioning of our capabilities in society, especially by technology. So we're seeing that the more you make things easy on yourself, the less capable you become. So I sleep with my cell phone right next to me, and when I wake up in the morning, about a year and a half ago, I used to spend 45 minutes on my phone first thing in the morning. It's the advice that Dr. K absolutely says you should never do this, drains your dopamine, all this kind of stuff. I used to do it too. And so then I thought to myself, okay, should I stop doing this because this is not good for my brain? It's not good for my dopamine. I said, actually, no, what I'm going to do is wake up every morning and I'm going to intentionally not use it for the first hour of the day. I'm actually not going to make things easy for myself. I'm not going to turn things into a habit. I will wake up in the morning and I will struggle with it. So this does a couple of really important things. The first is that it messes up your performance, right? So there are many days where I would crack and then my dopamine stores would be messed up for the rest of the day. But over time, as I set one really specific target, I'm just not going to use my cell phone in the morning, fail many days a week. That's okay. About a year and a half later, now I almost never get on my phone in the morning. And here's the really, really interesting thing. As you train yourself to not use your phone, you don't make it easy on yourself, you train yourself to be able to resist. What I found is that my cell phone use has decreased from about 4.5 hours a day to about 1.5 to 2 hours of the day. Strengthening your willpower first thing in the morning actually translates through to the rest of the day. So the first thing that I do to stay mentally healthy is to stay sort of cognitively fit. So don't just make everything easy on yourself, and train yourself up in the particular skills that you're interested in. Part of the reason that I'm able to resist my cell phone, and granted it takes about a year, is because I've done some amount of mental training. So I talk about this in Dr. K's Guide to Meditation, but there are 2 specific things that I think you guys can look into if you're having trouble with this. One is pratyahara. Pratyahara means sensory withdrawal. So basically what happens is in our attention, in our mind will go towards the sensory objects outside of us. So I think about my phone, I want my phone, I see my phone, I reach for my phone. There's literally a meditation practice that is all about withdrawing your attention from the senses and back into your mind. When you train in Pratyahara, I find that it makes it way easier to do a lot of stuff because it basically reduces our distraction. I keep seeing comments, Dr. K, how do I apply this to a situation in my life? That's literally why we created a coaching program. Our coaches are certified on an evidence-based curriculum designed to help you get unstuck. This involves analyzing your patterns, increasing your understanding, and working with you week to week to help you develop a plan to create lasting change. So if y'all are interested, check out the link in the description below. Second thing that I do is I really think about my energy like a battery. Now, a lot of us, when we feel tired, we will take a break, right? Oh my God, I can't work anymore. Now I have to take a break. Once I take a break, I'm kind of like vegging out for a little bit, like my mind gets kind of numb. I'm doing something, a 30-minute break ends up being an hour, 2 hours, and then I come back to work and I'm even more exhausted. So one of the things that I do is I literally pay attention. This is an exercise that I learned when I was running this thing called the SMART program, the Stress Management and Resilience Training Program for 600 physicians across the country in the United States. So there's a really cool exercise called the energy battery exercise, which is just to ask people what drains your energy and what gives you energy. As I go throughout my day, I really pay attention to what really drains my energy. So at the top of the list is caffeine. So caffeine does not give you energy. All it does is block your sensation of tiredness. So I noticed that there are a lot of things that I do that would let me power through, right? So I'm going to drink a cup of coffee at 4 p.m. because I have all this work to do. And this is important to understand. Caffeine doesn't give you energy. It is a loan against future energy. There are a lot of things that I do throughout the day that actually decrease my energy. Another good example is the way that we take breaks. So I just sort of noticed that when I would take a break, and let's say I pull out my cell phone or I, browse Reddit for 15 minutes because I can't focus on the paper I'm reading or whatever, what I noticed is that there's a lot of stuff I do in my breaks that actually drains me more. And then it gets really like, you get into this cycle that's like, okay, I'm going to take a break. I'm going to browse on my phone for an hour, but then you don't feel like refreshed and rejuvenated when you go back to work. The purpose of taking a break is to recharge your energy levels so that you can work more efficiently. Instead, we've got this combination of doom scrolling and caffeine, which is depleting my energy, allowing me to finish this work, but is sort of leaving me completely in tatters at the end of the day. So really pay attention to what can you do during your breaks that actually improve your energy level. As I started paying attention, I noticed that there are also all kinds of other things that really cost me a lot of energy. And this includes things like social relationships. So there were certain people that would call me just to chat, or sometimes I'd get text message or invitations. And there are like some people in my life that I just found absolutely exhausting. Now, I have to maintain a relationship with these people. I want to maintain a relationship with these people, but I also don't have to do it like right when they call. So I think a greater awareness of through just asking yourself a simple question, at the end of this, what will my energy level be? And focusing a lot on breaks and recovery is crucial. So for me, a couple of things that I do to increase my energy level are take naps and walk. These are the two biggest things. So naps become a bit tricky because a lot of people that, I worked as a psychiatrist will say like, okay, if I nap, I end up napping for like 3 hours or 4 hours. I can't take a 20-minute nap. I can't take a 30-minute nap. So if you are sleep deprived, if you're using too much caffeine, then a nap may turn into a 3-hour nap. The other thing that I learned about napping when I was meditating is sometimes I would fall asleep during meditation. I'd be meditating for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. And so my teachers, and I thought this was a problem, so I'd go to my teachers and I'd say, hey, I keep on like falling asleep during meditation. What do I do about this? And they said, look, if your body is tired, if you're sleep deprived, then you will fall asleep during meditation. That's okay. It won't last forever. And what I've noticed about napping specifically is as I cut back on my caffeine, as I maintain my energy levels better, I start to sleep better at night. And now I'm down to about 20 or 30-minute naps. So I strongly recommend that you all set a timer for about 20 to 25 minutes if you're having trouble with napping. And the reason is because that first 20 minutes is enough for physiologic recovery. And once we start entering stage 2, stage 3, stage 4 in REM sleep, then it becomes really hard to wake up. Next thing that I discovered is absolutely fascinating. So I don't know if this happens to y'all, but I noticed that over the last couple of years, like I would watch a TV show and I would pull out my phone during the boring parts of the TV show. I would also play video games and I was like, oh my God, this video game isn't fun. I'd check the reviews and be like, okay, I'm 6 hours in, or like I'd watch a show, right? I'm 6 hours in. Does it really get better? So a good example of this is like I tried watching 6 Feet Under and I watched a couple of episodes and I was like, okay, does it get better? I tried to play like Dune Awakening and I thought it was like a really cool game and I really enjoyed parts of it, but I was like, okay, does it like really get better? I'm not thrilled with the combat. So I noticed something really interesting, which is that I force myself to power through entertainment that I don't enjoy. I keep on watching a show on Netflix to wait for it to get good. I keep on playing a video game in order for it to get good. I was wasting huge amounts of time, not even having fun, even being on my cell phone when I'm watching a show while I'm waiting for it to get good. And I looked at this and I was like, what the hell am I? Why am I trying to power through and force myself to waste 60 hours of my life? Like, what am I actually doing? So I started doing something really, really simple, which is when I get bored with a game or a TV show, I stop it. So with my Dota friends, they've gotten a little bit frustrated with me because I'm kind of this one and done. They're like, well, you just logged on. You're like, hey, do you want to play Dota? We all logged on. Now we're all here playing one game and then you're fucking bailing. Fair point, right? So I don't message those people anymore. If I want to play a game of Dota, I'm going to stick around for a couple of games. But I think it's like really bizarre that we try to force ourselves to stick with entertainment in order for it to get good. I just stopped doing that. Like the moment that I pull out my cell phone, I said, okay, hold on a second. I'm not having fun with this. So I'm going to stop and I'm going to go do something else. This is really bizarre, but I watch TV sometimes in my bed, and so I'll just literally turn off the TV. I will turn to my left side, and I will close my eyes for about 20 minutes. Now, y'all may have noticed something kind of interesting. You guys know that when you're watching TV or you're on your phone or something, you start to feel sleepy, right? You're pretty tired. You don't feel like getting up. And then you turn it off, and then you try to close your eyes and go to sleep because you're tired. And then something weird happens. The moment that you put your screen away or you turn off the TV, you no longer feel sleepy and your mind becomes active. So then you're like, okay, do I go back to watching or what goes on? So the sequence for me used to be turn off TV, lay down, try to close my eyes, and then pull out my cell phone 5 minutes later. So instead what I do, I lay down on my left side for about 20 minutes. Then what I notice is like I'm rejuvenated. Like I don't know if this makes sense, but when you turn off the TV and you close your eyes, then you feel bored and your mind actually turns on. So I stay there for about 20 minutes and then I get up and then I notice that my energy levels are actually way higher. So I stop powering through because it's actually a complete waste of time to wait to get hooked. And that's really what we're looking for, right? Like we're looking to get hooked. We're looking to want to be consumed with this thing. But this creates another problem. And this is sort of what I've noticed as I stop doing this is like, now that I'm no longer like getting hooked to TV and video games, I'm noticing something really cool, which is that my enjoyment of other activities is actually skyrocketing. So I've started reading fiction again. I've started reading nonfiction. And it's sort of like if I don't force my brain into falling into dopaminergic crap, it actually works way better for other kinds of things. Next thing I do to stay mentally healthy, I prioritize about 1 hour of work a day on passion projects. So this is really important. So the standard sequence of things is, I wake up, I have to go to work. I go to work. I work there for 8 hours. I commute back home. I have to take care of this. I have to take care of that. We're just wiped at the end of the day. Okay. And so then there's like all this stuff that I want to do. Maybe I want to learn how to play piano. For me, it's learning how to become a better writer. So there's certain things that I want to do, meditation, yoga, all that kind of stuff. At the end of the day, we're just tired. So this is actually something I started in residency. So when you're in residency, you work a lot. Okay, so you're working 80 hours a week to 100 hours a week. In psychiatry, sometimes we would work 60, 65. And so I sort of noticed that for a period of 4 years, I'm learning psychiatry, but I'm not advancing in anything else. So I started getting up actually 30 minutes earlier or getting ready faster. It's not even 30 minutes. I'd get up 15 minutes earlier and I just get ready really fast for the day. I'd plan a little bit the night before so I don't have to pack my lunch or whatever. And then I would sit down and do 20 to 30 minutes of stuff that I wanted to do. And this is what I noticed is that when I spend some amount of time, ideally every day, but realistically ends up being 4 days a week, including weekends, doing stuff that I want to do, doing stuff that I feel passionate about. 2 or 3 days ago, I wrote 1,917 words in 66 minutes. So what happened? It changes your perception of control and autonomy in life. There's a lot of research that shows that feeling out of control is not actually dependent on your environment. It is about how many choices you make. So there's a lot of research that shows that having control of your life, having purpose or direction in your life comes from making choices. So when we live in a world where it's okay, I have to go to work and then I come home and then I feel exhausted, I have no energy, it's hard to do anything. 3 months can go by and all you've done is go to work and come home. You haven't made any progress in anything that you're passionate about. So this sounds kind of counterintuitive because people would say, okay, do the work first, make sure you do laundry, make sure you do this, make sure you do this. But we live in a world where we're squeezed so hard. There's no juice left. There's nothing left at the end of the day. The world demands so much of you. The only way to stay mentally healthy for me is to do that stuff first thing in the morning. So at least at the end of the week, I got to spend a few hours doing what I love, growing as a person, improving myself, and that really pays dividends over the long run. The last thing that I do to stay mentally healthy is disbelieve my mind. So I know this sounds kind of weird, but your mind is not a beacon of truth. In fact, quite the opposite. Our mind has evolved to have certain cognitive biases. Depending on how active our emotional circuitry is, we start to think in black and white, we start to catastrophize, we start to make comparisons. And so one of the things that I've sort of noticed that really helps me stay mentally healthy is that sometimes my mind is wrong. If we look at the nature of most mental illness, the more severe the mental illness is, the more people believe their mind. So if I have psychosis and delusional thinking, which is generally considered to be a pretty severe form of mental illness, my mind tells me that the FBI is following me, and I believe it. If we look at people who are severely depressed and are suicidal. They're people who believe that their loved ones would be better off without them. That's what their mind is telling them, and they actually believe it. So if we look at the process of literally moving from psychiatrically hospitalized with severe mental illness to being in remission and no longer needing psychiatric treatment, the one thing that changes in basically every mental illness is our capacity to disbelieve our mind. So there are a couple of things that I look out for. The first is my mind thinking black and white? So am I thinking, I'm screwed, this is going to end in disaster, this is going to be amazing, right? This is going to be perfect, this is everything that we need. Oh my God, we're going to do this new hire, or we just came up with this new idea for a video, and it's going to be the best video on the planet. Anytime my thinking is 100 or 0, I stop, I take a step back, and I'm like, okay, take a deep breath, take a walk for a little bit, revisit this, just disbelieve your mind. The second thing that I disbelieve my mind with is comparisons. So anytime my mind makes a comparison, I take a big step back and I think to myself, no, this is like not correct. This is fundamentally not correct. And here's kind of my reasoning. So I sit in a weird space where I'm like a doctor, I'm a creator, I'm an entrepreneur, right? And I'm not trying to like humble brag here, but this is just where I sit. I'm just sharing the inside of my mind, okay? And the thing is, I'm like mediocre at all three of those things, TBH, right? So I look at doctors who are better than me. I look at influencers who are bigger than me. I look at entrepreneurs who are more wealthy than I am. So I know it sounds kind of weird, but like, doesn't matter where you are, your mind can always make comparisons. And so anytime my mind makes a comparison, I try to take a step back. I try to think to myself, okay, if I devoted 100% of my time to being a physician, could I match that person? Maybe. If I focused on making a bunch of money, could I succeed in that? Maybe. If I focused on becoming the most popular content creator and I started making a lot more clickbait content, if I started doing interviews and things like that, where there's a lot of voyeurs in the audience and I try to make people cry, could I be more successful? Absolutely. But do I want to do those things? Do I want that life? Do I want a life where I spend 2 hours a day with my kids on average? Or do I want to make $1 million more a year, right? What do I actually want? So I'm very careful about believing or disbelieving what my mind says, and recognize that it's just an instrument that is designed to take sensory input and then form some kind of conclusion. But my mind is definitely not an arbiter of truth. The last thing that I want to spend a moment talking about is how limited all of this stuff is. So I think I gain a ton of mileage. I think it's been very, very transformative for me to do all of these things. It's one of the ways that I stay mentally healthy and stay engaged and stay passionate about the work that I do. So it's a way to deal with burnout. But this way of living is very luxurious. So if you look at research on, mental security and financial security and mental wellness, quality of life, things like that, there are a couple things that I have going for me that a lot of people don't. The first of which is I have a roof over my head and I'm generally speaking financially secure. I'm on a financial path where I'm not going to be super loaded or anything like that, but I'll be able to save for my retirement. I'll be able to support my children some. They'll probably have to work in their life. And so that is a huge load off of my back. There have been times in my life where I haven't been sure how I'm going to make ends meet. There have been times in my life where I haven't been sure where I'm going to live or where I'm going to end up, staying. And the cost of that for your mental cannot be underestimated. It is huge. And the other huge thing that I have going for me is that I have a nuclear family that I love and loves me in turn. There's no abuse or toxicity in my household, right? I mean, maybe my kids will disagree when they're older, but, I spend time just doing homework with my kids. My kids give me a hug every day. We play Smash Brothers together. We recently reached a really cool milestone. So about a year and a half ago, I used to be able to 2v1 them pretty easily. But holy, now when we 2v1, I don't stand a chance. They just take turns edge guarding me on cooldowns, and there's no way for me to survive. I have a marriage that I think is relatively healthy. I'm pretty happy. My wife is pretty happy. And there's no way to underestimate the value of that. Part of the reason that we made the relationship guide and things like that. I just want to be clear with y'all that I think all of the stuff in this video is stuff that you can do. But make no mistake that there are such important foundations for your mental health that are outside of this stuff. And my hope is by implementing some of these things, y'all will be able to move in a direction that helps you have healthy relationships, be productive, and be financially secure.